A German shepherd refused to let his family's newborn sleep alone, guarding the crib night after night. At first, the parents thought it was simply devotion, but then his behavior turned urgent. What they discovered inside the nursery forced them to call 911, and the truth will leave you stunned. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The Johnson household was filled with quiet joy as they welcomed their first child, a baby girl named Lily. The nursery glowed softly with pastel colors, a crib tucked neatly beside the window where sunlight streamed in each morning. Every detail had been lovingly prepared, every blanket folded with care. But the family wasn't just parents and baby. Max, their loyal German shepherd, had been part of their lives for 5 years. He had protected the house, accompanied them on long walks, and offered unconditional love through every season. Now, with Lily's arrival, his role seemed to grow, even greater. From the moment Lily came home, Max's behavior shifted. He followed her everywhere, resting near the crib, his ears perked at every sound she made. When she whimpered, he nudged closer, lying down protectively. The parents chuckled, whispering, "Looks like we've got ourselves a furry babysitter." They thought it was nothing more than sweet devotion, the kind every parent hopes their pet will show. What they didn't realize was that Max's watchfulness wasn't just love, it was instinct, preparing them for what was coming. At first, Max's protectiveness seemed heartwarming. He curled up beneath Lily's crib every night, his large frame stretched across the floor like a silent guardian. Whenever she stirred, his ears flicked up, and he lifted his head, eyes sharp, as though assessing unseen threats in the shadows. But within days, the behavior grew more intense. Max no longer left the nursery willingly. He whined softly if the parents tried to coax him out, his gaze darting back toward Lily as if he couldn't bear the separation. If they carried her to the living room, he padded close behind, his nose brushing the hem of her blanket. At night, his behavior became stranger still. Max paced the room restlessly, his nails clicking against the wooden floor. Sometimes he stood rigid by the crib, his body tense, ears pointed toward the corner of the room as though something was there. The parents exchanged uneasy glances, whispering that maybe he was simply adjusting. Yet deep inside, an unsettling question grew. Was Max protecting Lily from something they couldn't see? The Johnsons tried to reassure themselves that Max was just being overly protective. "He loves her," Mrs. Johnson whispered one evening as Max planted himself firmly beside the crib. "He's just adjusting to not being the only baby in the house." Her husband nodded, though doubt lingered in his eyes. Still, Max's actions began to test their comfort. He growled, not at them, but at empty spaces, his gaze fixed on corners of the nursery where nothing seemed out of place. At times, he sniffed the air, his hackles rising as if detecting an intruder only he could sense. During feedings, Max sat directly at Lily's feet, his body stiff, as though bracing for something. When they laid her down, he positioned himself so close that his fur brushed the crib rails. Every instinct told the parents it was harmless devotion. Yet each time Max's eyes glowed in the dim light, locked on shadows they couldn't see. Their unease deepened. Was this mere loyalty, or was Max warning them of a danger they hadn't discovered yet? The unease in the Johnson household grew heavier with each passing night. Lily, once a calm sleeper, began waking frequently, her cries sharp and panicked. The moment her wails pierced the silence, Max was already at her side, his nose pressed against the crib, tail stiff, body trembling with tension. At first, the parents chalked it up to colic, the kind of sleeplessness all new parents dread. But the pattern was too consistent. Lily's cries always came at the same hour, deep into the night, and Max's reaction was always the same: alert, restless, unshakable. One night, Mrs. Johnson tried lifting Max gently by the collar to lead him out of the room. He resisted, planting his paws firmly, eyes locked on the crib. When she whispered his name, he whimpered, nudging closer to the baby as if pleading not to leave her side. By now, both parents felt the same unspoken dread. Max wasn't just anxious. He was guarding Lily with a desperation they couldn't explain. Something was disturbing their baby. Something Max sensed, but they did not. It was just past midnight when the silence of the house shattered. Max scratched violently at the nursery door, his nails scraping wood with frantic urgency. His barks echoed down the hallway, sharp and unrelenting. The Johnsons bolted upright, fear tightening their chests. Something was wrong. They rushed in to find Max circling the crib, barking furiously. Lily was crying louder than ever, her tiny fists flailing as her face flushed crimson. Mrs. Johnson scooped her up, rocking her gently, but Max's focus was elsewhere. He growled at the far wall, ears pinned, body rigid, every muscle taut with warning. Mr. Johnson flipped on the light, scanning the room. That's when he saw it. A faint, curling line of smoke seeping from an electrical outlet near the crib. The socket sparked, crackling with heat. The parents froze, horror flooding them. In that instant, they realized Max's desperate watchfulness hadn't been about overprotection. He had been guarding Lily from a hidden danger that had been growing night after night. Mr. Johnson's face went pale as the sparks grew brighter, hissing faintly. He grabbed his phone with shaking hands, dialing 911. "This is an emergency," he stammered, his voice tight with panic. "There's smoke coming from our baby's nursery wall. Please, send help immediately." Meanwhile, Max refused to leave Lily's side. He planted himself between the crib and the outlet, growling low at the flickering sparks, his body shielding her from the unseen threat. Mrs. Johnson clutched the baby tightly, her heart racing as she backed toward the door. Dispatchers reassured them that a fire crew was en route, but every second felt like forever. The smell of burning insulation began to fill the room, acrid and terrifying. Mr. Johnson grabbed a blanket, pressing it against the outlet in a desperate attempt to keep the smoke contained. Max barked sharply, urging them out. His instincts were clear: protect the baby, protect the family. Moments later, sirens wailed in the distance, drawing closer. The Johnsons exchanged a look of trembling gratitude. If not for Max, they might never have discovered the danger in time. The flashing red lights of the fire truck cut through the night as firefighters rushed into the house. Within minutes, the smoldering outlet was shut down, wires pulled from the wall, and the immediate danger contained. Relief washed over the Johnsons, but the reality of what could have happened sent a chill deeper than the smoke. One firefighter shook his head as he examined the damage. Another hour, maybe less, and this whole room could have gone up in flames, he said gravely. His eyes shifted to Max, still standing guard near Lily, tail wagging slowly, but eyes locked protectively on the baby. "Looks like your dog saved your lives tonight." Mrs. Johnson hugged Lily tighter, her tears spilling freely. Mr. Johnson crouched down, wrapping his arms around Max's strong neck. "You knew," he whispered, voice breaking. "You knew all along." The firefighters packed up their gear, but not before one of them knelt to scratch Max's head. "That's not just a good dog," he said with a smile. "That's a hero." The Johnsons couldn't agree more. In the days that followed, the Johnsons couldn't stop replaying the night in their minds. Every time they looked at Lily's crib, now safely moved to another room, they shivered at the thought of what might have been. Yet each time their eyes fell on Max, gratitude overwhelmed every fear. The once simple family dog had proven himself to be something greater: protector, guardian, and lifesaver. He no longer just lay beside the crib. He had earned the family's unwavering respect. Wherever Lily went, Max followed, his watchful eyes never straying far from the child he had saved. Friends and neighbors who heard the story marveled at his instincts, calling him extraordinary. For the Johnsons, however, no word seemed strong enough. He wasn't just extraordinary, he was family in the truest sense. One evening, as Lily slept peacefully in her parents' arms, Max rested his head across Mrs. Johnson's lap. She whispered softly, "You're not just our dog, Max, you're our hero." And in the quiet of that moment, it was clear his love had changed everything.